Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I hope you are having a fantastically awesome day so far. My day is going pretty good, even though it is quite cold, but I'm not going to cry and moan about it. I'm going to man up and take it. But it's so cold. Anyway, today we are reacting to what were your misconceptions about America? And this was a request from Amanda. Amanda and I have been emailing back and forth for quite some time now because she knows I'm quite keen to come over to the States. So she gives me advice, and she's actually been so helpful sending me like places to visit and stuff. And there's been a lot of people who do that actually. But one of her questions was, Jono, what were some of the misconceptions you have about America? And I was like, well, I don't know whether it's a misconception, but it's widely believed throughout Europe and throughout the world really that all Americans have the old pew-pews. Now, I feel absolutely ridiculous saying pew-pew, but I keep getting demonetized every time I use the word G-U-N, which will probably get me demonetized again. But yeah, so that was one of my biggest misconceptions. And she says to me, Jono, we don't even have one. So I was like, see, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. That's why I don't like to jump to conclusions. I like to find out facts first. So we're going to be checking this video out. She sent it to me. She said she thinks I'll have a good laugh out of it, and she thinks you'll enjoy it as well. So we're going to be checking it out. But before we do, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you're feeling extra frisky, you may as well give the video a like as well. I do have a Buy Me a Coffee page and a Patreon page link down in the description if you want to help support the channel. That would be freaking awesome. And without further ado, let's check out what were some of your misconceptions about America.
Non-Americans.
Sorry. If anyone else wants to contact me via email, my email address is always in the description.
Misconception did you have about America that you learned was wrong upon moving to America? My German friends wanted to shoot all my guns.
There you go.
When I told them I didn't have any, they looked at me like I was lying. I've taken several Germans to the range. It's a pretty awesome experience for them. I don't think they really grasp how bloody expensive ammo is though.
So many people have offered to take me to the range or to their ranch or farm or whatever so I can shoot some. I'm going to get demonetized anyway, but yeah, I can't wait because that's something I really want to do.
Well, I recently learned that New York is a state as well as a city and that Washington isn't in Washington. A while back I was dating this girl from India who was shocked to discover that Seattle was nowhere near DC. I don't know if it is a misconception, but I expected Grand Canyon National Park to be less well maintained. Frankly, it's amazing for the amount of visitors visited last year. 10/10. You people have an amazing national park service. This year we decided to come back and tackle Yellowstone. Next weekend.
This is something I can't wait for as well. My family, my kids, my missus and I, we love hiking, we love the outdoors, and this is something we've heard such good things about is the national parks over there, and we really cannot wait because I love that sort of thing. I really do. So yeah, it's nice to see someone else.
Hats off to the national parks. That is some public sector crap I hope you people decide to keep investing in. For me, more than cities, they are the crown jewels of the US.
Yeah.
The amount of public land in the US is unique and incredible. Thank Teddy Roosevelt and John Muir. They were both amazing men that pioneered the vast national parks of North America. This one is a bit off topic, but hear me out. I grew up watching American movies, American media, American everything, and it became this very familiar place that I had never been to, and it almost seemed like it was fake, like it was all just one big movie set, and people spoke a made-up language I understood but never heard from native speakers in real life. At that point my view on America was almost disconnected from reality. When I finally visited America it was completely surreal, like I was taking part of those fictional movies I had seen as a kid. I saw landmarks in cities that I had only ever seen on a screen. It was a crazy experience. I get that. Even for Americans, there are places in the US that can be like that, especially New York City. I thought you American.
That's where my daughter wants to go. She and my wife, they both really want to go to New York City, but I am not a city person. I'm like the poster before. I'd prefer to go to the national parks and stuff. They would as well, but I think it's because of the movies and Friends and stuff like that, where it's all New York. They love New York, so yeah, it's not something I want to do.
That can be like that, especially New York City. I thought you Americans ate pizza every Friday. That's why I wanted to go to USA in the first place.
That's why I wanted to go.
If by every Friday you mean nearly every day, you're spot on about some of us. I thought sheriffs aren't real for some reason. At least not anymore. At least where I am. Police equals city. Sheriff equals county. State patrol equals state. But mostly highways and interstates. Being English, I didn't even think about a language barrier. At a football game, took me about 5 minutes to get a bottle of water. The girl just couldn't understand how I said water. I had to point to one someone else had in the end.
Bottle of
It
water.
happens to everyone. I'm from Ohio and I went to visit my aunt and uncle in Georgia. I was trying to order a sandwich but I couldn't understand the questions that the waitress was asking me because I couldn't decipher her accent. My sister had to translate for me. It was pretty embarrassing now that I'm thinking about it. I thought people would say yeah a lot more. Sorry to disappoint.
If I come over there and no one that I'm going to meet up with says yeah, I'm going to be so pissed off.
Honestly, you guys were a lot friendlier than I expected. Even
Yeah,
in New
spot
York,
on.
which seems to pride itself on not giving a frick, I found people to be extremely friendly, polite and helpful. Fellow New Yorker here, can confirm, we do give a frick. I didn't realize those red cups were actually real and used by everyone in the US at parties. I thought it was just like a movie thing. My friend's mum went to the US and brought us back a stack while we were at uni. We felt like we were in a teen film. We even washed them up when we were done so we could use them again.
That's another misconception I had, at least when I was younger. I grew up with movies like American Pie, not another teen movie. What was the other one? You know, that kind of film. And I thought colleges and that have to be like that. Are they? Are they like that? Because if they are, I've missed out big time because they looked freaking awesome. At least when I was young and I liked all that sort of thing. Now, I couldn't think of anything worse than drinking and carrying on like that. But when I was young, I just thought, what the heck? That must be amazing.
The love of the red Solo cup abroad makes me laugh. That I'd have no problem communicating because the people there speak a form of English, have listened to the accents in the media my whole life etc. Man, was I wrong. I don't think I spoke to a single person who I didn't have to ask to repeat themselves at least once.
Oh no.
This was in Orlando.
I hope I'm not going to struggle.
This sounds stupid. I knew America was big. But when I thought I could drive from New York to Florida pretty easily I was so wrong. I just didn't quite register how bloody far away everything is. And I was wrong when I thought alligators just lived in the Everglades. Those suckers are everywhere in Florida. Florida has some dangerous wildlife. How surprisingly cold some parts of Arizona can get. I visited it after spending a year in northern Ohio, and basically went there naked, as I didn't expect anything could be worse than Cleveland's winter. Nope, I almost froze to death when I went to see the Grand Canyon and it was snowing.
I didn't know that. I did not know that. I thought the same. I thought Arizona is like hot as hell.
When I went to the Grand Canyon in October I showed up in shorts and a tank top expecting to still be hot, like I was in Phoenix. Nope. Not only was it freezing but it was the windiest place I have been in my entire life. So beautiful though. Just the size of the USA. I never realized just how massive that country is. Our state-to-state drive is a European's country-to-country drive. When my parents and I moved from Poland to Texas in 1997, we had no idea Daisy sour cream wasn't a cheese spread. Still have it on sandwiches. On a solo road trip up Route 66, I picked up an 18-year-old Dutch kid on his first trip out of his country. He thought all American diners were owned by one company called Diner. That was pretty adorable. My grandmother was an impressionable small-town teenager in the UK during World War II, and fell in love with her fair share of American GIs as there were hundreds stationed in her hometown. They took her to dances, swept her off her feet and left her with a hugely romantic view of life in the USA, bolstered over the years by movies. In 2003 my family took her to Florida on holiday and she was devastated that everyone lived normal lives.
Oh, shame.
AWW, that's the nicest thing anyone has ever said about Florida. Thanks.
Oh, bless her.
I thought Washington was the most serious place in the States, but when I went there, for a tour at the WH, about 3 years ago, most of the city smelled like pot. I was very confused. People think DC equals government, which it does, but they forget that it's also an incredibly liberal
And not long ago, they found a bag of coke in the White House, didn't they? On the White House grounds, so...
population. I don't know the numbers now, but it also used to be the gayest city in America, by percentage of population. and we know how to party. You get a lot of high-strung young professionals, and they have to blow off steam somehow. My British cousin thought that soccer was way bigger than it was. He came and saw a Revs game with us and it wasn't that full. He was shocked, needless to say. I got an admit to a school in Texas. I was worried about the gunslinging cowboys and random shootouts everywhere. 4 years in and I am yet to see any of those guys here. I did get to play with guns in a range last year though. I had an exchange student from Europe recently, and he said his mom said she'd be happy as long as he ended up anywhere in the US except Texas.
Texas is the place I want to come the most, and like a few of you guys have actually said to us, why don't we move there, and things like that, and that is my daughter's biggest fear. She would love to move there, but she said she would want to be homeschooled because all they show is the negatives and the school shootings and that, and she's like, I would be too scared to go to school, which is such a shame, isn't it? That, like, I know it's a terrible thing, but like, you can't live your life in fear like that. So I try and talk to her about it, but it's so hard to get through to someone when they're that young. But yeah, flipping heck.
I live in New Orleans, like in the city. His mom was still happy it wasn't Texas. He said he would fill her in on the actual danger to him in New Orleans versus Texas when he went home. Yeah. I visited Nick and had the expectation that everyone would be rushing about and keeping to themselves, but people were so friendly. Like several times a day girls stopped me in the street simply to say something nice about my hair outfit.
They won't be doing that with my hair.
I just found it really strange, but nice. I'm from London, UK, and I guess I'm just used to people avoiding eye contact.
London is the worst. It is absolutely horrible. People do not give a damn. They will walk over you. If you collapse in London, they'll just step over you. I hate London.
Talking to strangers. The only downside was the cat calling was heavy and more aggressive than I've experienced anywhere else. I've only been to Nick, Vegas and Florida, but I generally always found Americans to be really pleasant and polite. I thought Canadian and American accents were the same. Surprised me every time someone asked me if I was Canadian after speaking just a few sentences. Interestingly enough, Michiganders were really good picking out Canadian accents, but I was horrible at distinguishing theirs from Canadians. That it was a big country. It's not. It's insanely vast. Stupidly vast. Beyond anything I can compare it to. Yeah. Returning to the UK after a trip to the US. It feels like I'm visiting Toy Town and everything is just so cute. And I'm English and feel like this after a week or two away. Also, people are a lot less fat than we're led to believe. Yep, some obese. That's
another one, isn't it? That's another one. That like Americans are fat and that. It's not something I've witnessed. Yes, I've never been yet. I am coming eventually. Also, what are your misconceptions about some other countries? If you're American, what misconceptions have you had about other countries that you didn't know about? I'd be really interested to hear that. And what are your misconceptions about South Africa? Okay, I haven't been back home in Leia's 13. The last time I went there, she was just turned 3. So I haven't been back in 10 years. But yeah, let me know what some of your misconceptions are. I'd love to hear them.
City, but no more than I see here in the UK. I also felt massively safer driving in the US than I do in the UK.
Oh, that's an interesting
People
one.
seem to drive with a lot more patience and there is a lot less under or overtaking. In the UK at any given moment, someone is planning to cut you up or is actively swearing at your car away for being either too fast or too slow, or not pulling away from a red light the instant it turns amber. My friend's wife is from Costa Rica. She was shocked to find out that Americans take regular showers when she moved here. I guess most of the Americans she was exposed to growing up were the backpack Costa Rica hippie types who didn't clean themselves much. Thought food was gonna be crap for some reason.
No.
Then discovered that the quality is way better than what I'm used to. Also thought everyone was gonna be morbidly obese. Came to Colorado, 90% of people are fit as frick. Thought Walmart was gonna suck. Ended up loving Walmart. I thought there was only one government for all states where all decisions were made. Turns out each state makes a lot of important decisions for
that's something
itself.
I didn't know either.
In general, power is a lot more distributed than I expected. I thought that WrestleMania was a huge deal for Americans. I was hoping that it would be like a national holiday. WrestleMania and NASA are my two favorite things about America, so this was very sad for me.
Man.
Vince McMahon would like to have a word with you about an exciting offer that only costs $9.99 a month. Everyone was so nice. Everything so neat and orderly. Did think it would be more busy, chaotic, since the population is much larger. I didn't realize you actually have cartoonish yellow school buses everywhere. Blew my mind. Everyone looked much healthier than expected. Lots in the media about obesity. American TV shows. Famous for fast food etc. It's a beautiful country. Met a guy visiting from Portugal. He said he was surprised that he hasn't seen anyone get shot in the street yet. He assumed everyone in America carried a gun and street shootings were extremely common. Not really a misconception, but I
don't know if I'd visit if I was expecting that. Like, oh yeah, we're just going down the shop. We just saw 2 people get shot. So,
I was pretty young when I moved to the US from mainland Europe. My parents mentioned that the US was at war with Iraq. This was in 2003, and I wondered to myself why we were moving to a war zone. Brilliant. I thought that there would be air raids and bombings all the time. That everyone is as good looking as the people on TV. We are, but the show is Roseanne. Here in Holland, the Yankees hat is just one of the more popular ones.
I love Reddit. Sometimes I love Reddit for the questions, but the answers are hilarious sometimes. I can sometimes sit on Reddit for ages. It's awesome.
Just because of its design. It actually means something there. Duh. It took a while, walking through Baltimore, to realize that. I was shocked how nice everyone was. I was in NJ and New York City. All I heard growing up was how rude and mean Nick residents were. Not my.
It's quite a common misconception, eh?
Hollywood. I believed it was wall-to-wall famous people walking on red carpets dressed in golden gowns and everything was possible.
Imagine that every minute of the day.
Walked on that beautiful boulevard. Wrong. Big time.
Wrong.
As an American, I too know the disappointment of seeing Hollywood for the first time.
Got no
I was
interest in
stunned
Hollywood.
and fascinated by different time zones in the same country.
This is amazing to me, the different time zones and that. I still can't get my head around it. I'm trying to figure it out, and it's weird.
That every shop is like Costco, big, in bulk, and relatively cheap. The majority of people in the US are a fat, racist and selfish motherfucker. Couldn't be more wrong. Everyone was very nice, educated and kind. Unfortunately, the worst people get the most attention inside and outside the US.
Same with every country.
I was under the impression that there were no cats in America. Obviously that wasn't the case.
What? Why?
That Colorado is all mountains and hippies. There's a lot of them for sure. But I was in Greeley recently and it was in many ways the anti-Boulder. It was strange how you could drive for like half an hour and go from solid liberal town to the heart of Trump country. That's true of most American cities.
I think every city everywhere.
I thought it's a geographical thing and you can only see them in the south. The ones I met up north were pretty hostile at first but turned out to be awesome people in the end. There are 50 states, not 52. Almost everyone who isn't American, that I know, thinks or at some point thought that there are 52 states. I still don't know why, but I suspect that Hawaii and Alaska might be involved. I thought most Americans were affluent.
I'm confused.
Growing up in Asia, most Americans I met lived in really nice houses and had the latest gadgets. Now I'm studying in the States and I've noticed a huge socioeconomic gap. I think that's a problem with perception worldwide.
I think in America you guys do have a better house, like better houses than in Europe. The house we're in now is really big, but it's got such a crap design. And I've done a lot, like I've told you before, I sit sometimes and I look at properties and the houses over there just look so more thought out, so better thought out than the houses here. And also, I've noticed the house prices. I mean, you can still afford to buy a house in America if you... I'm going to sound, maybe this is a misconception, but if you've got a decent job, you can afford to buy a house in America. Whereas when we were living in the UK, Kat, my wife and I had a really good job. I was making really good money. And so was she. And we couldn't afford to buy a house. Not in the area we were living anyway, because it was just so overpriced. So Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, sorry.
Unless you travel to a country, you never meet anyone who isn't at least decently well off, so your perception comes from those who can afford to travel. I thought Americans, especially Californians, are sassy and snob. I was so wrong about that. They're freaking chill, friendly, and some are really down to earth. I also thought most are really rich, that they own mansions with swimming pools at the mountains of Hollywood, but no. Most of them live in apartments and houses. My big misconception was, I thought life was easy here. That you don't have to have 2-4 jobs just to make a lot of money, but unfortunately, it was the other way. I think the life is easy idea comes from the way media...
There you go, so I was wrong. That's a misconception I had maybe about the property thing. But yeah, I think... it's everywhere, isn't it? What life is easy, they show it like life's easy. Life's not easy anywhere you
portrays
go.
Life in America. So many TV shows have young people who work at a coffee shop but can mysteriously afford a nice apartment, and Nick can have no financial troubles.
I was wrong.
The reality is very different, to say the least. You have been visited by the money bird. It'll bring you good fortune, but only if you
Well, what would... It was pretty interesting. I did enjoy that. It was quite long, actually. I didn't realize it was that much of a long video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've had any misconceptions about America or about anywhere else in the world. I'm really interested to see and hear them. I love like this sort of thing. I think I had more than one misconception that was proved wrong about the houses as well, because that's something I've seen. I thought it was more affordable. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. Let me know. Educate me down in the comments. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.